shriek. Your outcome's looking pretty bleak. Thunder booms, lightning crashes, leaving boots filled with ashes. As we lay you down to rest, we read the pages of the Dead Man's Digest.
Hello and welcome to Day 6 of the Dead Man's Digest, look back through Halloween Horror Night Orlando history. This episode is brought to you by the unofficial Universal Orlando podcast, and we will continue our look back in time with Halloween Horror Nights 15 in 2005. This year's event was subtitled Tales of Terror, with the tagline, "No one will live happily ever after," with the icon being the storyteller, aka Elsa Strict. The event took place over 19 nights beginning in September, for the first time on the 30th, and was held exclusively in Islands of Adventure again. A single night admission ticket was $59.75. The houses that could be found that year were Terror Mines and Poseidon's Fury. A darkened mineshaft leading into the underworld has created a first-of-its-kind experience where you control, or do you, the only source of light. Demon Cantina and the Carnage Warehouse. The dead are living it up again in this biker bar from hell, and when they ask you to join them, it's the end of the road for you. Body Collectors in the Discovery Center. It's blood and gore galore in this industrial factory where processing human body parts is the business, and business appears to be good. The School at Thunder Falls Terrace. The children have taken over the school and found horrifying new ways to celebrate Halloween. That's not a jack-o'-lantern they're carving. Blood Ruins in Soundstage 22. Evil and cruelty are the only survivors of this plague-ravaged medieval village where torture is a way of life and death your only escape. Where Evil Hides in Soundstage 18. Remember the worst fears of your imagination that lurked under the bed, in the closet, and under the stairs? They're back. And Cold Blind Terror in Soundstage 20. Where can you turn when you find yourself in utter darkness? Who can you trust when you can't trust your own eyes? Scare zones that year were Terror Guard Run in Port of Entry. The ghouls, goons, and monstrous brutes who populate this strange world get their first look at the hapless victims who are about to enter their domain. Blood Thunder Alley in Marvel Superhero Island. Not quite beast, not quite machine. Beware of the dark monstrosities who roar up and down the blood-spattered pathways of their smoky, thunderous lair. The Cemetery Mines in Jurassic Park. Strange creatures dart in and out of tunnels leading to mines deep in the underworld. What are they mining, and why is it better we don't find out? The Fire Pits in the Lost Continent. Blazing bursts of hellfire light up the night as precious metals are pounded into weapons, shields, and body parts for the demonic warriors of the Terror Queen. Two shows were held that year. The Terror Throne at the Port of Entry Landing. Under the watchful eye of the hideous Terror Queen, unsuspecting onlookers become unwilling participants in the fiery sacrificial ritual at the Gorewood Tree Altar. And Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure in Toon Lagoon Amphitheater. Terror Mines brought a unique feature to Halloween Horror Nights. Visitors were given miners' helmets to wear throughout the house to aid them through the darkness. The light on the helmet was triggered via radio transmitters to turn on, off, flicker, and change color. This allowed Horror Nights designers to bring in a controlled interactive element that added a new level of technology and scare factor to the event. The last year we'll cover on this show is Halloween Horror Nights Sweet 16 in 2006, which came with the tagline, "Horror Comes Home," and featured the storyteller, Jack, the caretaker, and the director as icons. This year's event was held over 19 nights and found itself back in Universal Studios only. A single night admission ticket was $59.95. That year's houses were Dungeon of Terror, Retold, in the Jaws queue. Off the beaten path lies an old roadside haunt. In its day, it would lure tourists by the thousands. Now it's only visited by the occasional lost traveler. Enter the Dungeon of Terror, where mysterious whispers call you deepening into hell. A place where the teller of stories demands the undivided attention of her guests. Once you make the mistake of entering the dungeon, you'll wish you had not, because no one can leave until her story has been told. People Under the Stairs, Under Construction. That was in a sprung tent. Can a home contain evil even before it's finished? With the only light coming from a source you possess, you will investigate the skeletal form of a home so demented that even its incomplete walls bleed. Wipe your feet off before entering this home sweet hell. Psychopath, The Return of Norman Bates. There is a vacancy once again in the legendary Bates Motel. Unlocking the door reveals a portal into the darkest depths of insanity. Your eyes prove to be useless as your mind takes over and leads you through the macabre nightmares of a pathological killer. a killer named Norman Bates. Run, hostile territory, in the earthquake queue. An underworld exists where anyone can fulfill their most ghastly fantasies, where the innocent can be tortured, dismembered, and killed, all in exchange for a credit card number. Choose your path and bear witness, because when the lights go out, the voyeurs become the victims, and there is no amount of money in the world that can save you. Scream House, Resurrection, and Soundstage 23. Through blood, bone, and ash, evil has risen again. Abandoned for years, this gothic mortuary contains the eternally tormented souls of the caretaker's victims. Aided by a cultish group of followers, the caretaker assures that you will enter on your own 2 feet, but leave sealed in a casket. Psychoscarapy, Maximum Madness, and Soundstage 22. Shady Brook Hospital has been plagued with rioting inmates on and off for years. These small incidents of chaos have always been resolved quickly and contained with minimal casualty. However, Shady Brook's newest resident is about to change all of that. If you think you know insane, you don't know Jack. Step inside an asylum where the sideshow is death and the big top has padded walls. And All Night Die-In, Take 2 and Soundstage 23. They say pain is temporary, but film is forever. For the director, film is forever, but pain is everlasting. The director takes you on a cinematic journey through horror which has been spliced together. So grab your ticket and prepare to come face to face with the film's greatest evils. Scare zones that year consisted of Horror Comes Home in Hollywood, take a macabre walk down memory lane with the haunted sights and sounds of previous Halloween Horror Nights. Keep your camera handy as some of the most infamous characters prowl the streets looking for prey. Blood Masquerade at Stage 54. Sensuous vampires beckon you in their terrifying blood feast. The celebration gathers the faithful to renew their vows to a darker power. You will become their prey, from which they will vanquish their thirst for blood and immortality. Harvest of Souls in Central Park. Unsettling and unnatural sounds fill the night air. Lanterns cast flickering light and shadow on a twisted landscape. Herein dwell bizarre creatures celebrating the harvest of the souls. Within these shadows creep the soul harvesters in search of souls to quench their insatiable thirst. And Deadtropolis, Zombie Siege in New York. A greenish fog crawls in pockets along the streets. Hunched forms cut through the haze slowly. These silhouettes appear human, however their moans and cries chill you to the bone. This is a new reality. A new dynamic has evolved for the phrase us and them, us being the living and them being the zombies. View the haunting sights of a new metropolis populated by the undead. A Deadtropolis. The shows that year were Robosaurus on the streets of New York. Deadtropolis has become a quarantine zone for the undead. Out of the chaos, something orderly is happening. The zombies are organizing, ready to break from their detainment. Returning from Halloween Horror Nights past is the fire-breathing, car-eating monster Robosaurus, sent in to stop the zombie uprising. And Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in the Fear Factor live theater as well. The Arrival on the Hollywood stage. Witness Darkness and his minions as they bring forth the ashes of Halloween's past and summon the truly iconic evil. Jack, caretaker, director, and the storyteller join for the very first time and invite all to experience the greatest horror nights ever. And Sweet 16, the director's cut, on the Lagoon Cinesphere 360 screens. Celebrate a scare-filled Sweet 16 as the director, the caretaker, Jack, and the storyteller host a horror-filled homecoming incorporating some of the most intense scenes from Universal's Fright films. Every single house featured at this year's event was a sequel, or based on houses from Halloween Horror Nights past. The only 2 icon houses that were brought back were the caretaker's Scream House and the director's All Night Die-In. Because of this, both Jack and the storyteller were tied into other houses from the past. Jack was committed into the Shady Brook Asylum, and the storyteller became the new owner of a roadside attraction rightfully titled the Dungeon of Terror. And that will conclude this trip through Halloween Horror Nights history. We wanted to give Halloween Horror Nights Crypt, HHNcrypt.com, a plug for supplying the info. If you did enjoy this look back in time, then join us again tomorrow for another 2 years of Halloween Horror Nights. So until tomorrow, sleep tight, Internet.